Good morning, North America. Welcome to Church Talk TV. Lively talk about life, church, and church life. I'm your co-host, Dr. Bill Tenney-Britton, and I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Dr. Kris Tenney-Britton, and we're broadcasting from our studio in Columbia, Missouri, the heartland of America. Say good morning, Kris.
Well, good morning, and welcome to Church Talk TV.
Kris and Bill Tenney-Britton here today to talk about three tools, or to provide you with three tools to help you keep focused on the mission.
Now, you hear us talk about this all the time, about how we drift from our mission and our vision, and we get very, very scattered, and how important it is to stay on point. And so today, as my illustrious husband and esteemed husband has mentioned, we're going to give you three tools. Now, of course, we purport that you need to have a coach to help you stay on task. And I think you've got something to say about that.
Well, we do a lot of coaching.
We do.
And every week,
we love it.
Literally, I am on a group coaching call, and we talk about what the pastors are doing. And so often the pastors are trying to do this and this and this and this, and they're not making any forward progress. They're not achieving their mission, and equally problematic is they're not making progress on reaching the vision,
right,
where they say they want to go. The more focused you are, the more laser focused you are, the more focused you are on setting priorities and saying, this is what's important, this is where we're going, this is what we're going to do, we're not going to do this task and this task, we're going to do this. It gets you where you want to go. It gets you where God has called you to go. We just get so scattered. So this is an important, I think, conversation we're going to have. And the three tools we're going to use are three different tools for you to pick. It's not do this and this and this.
Right, because different ones are going to work for different ones of us, right?
Exactly. So we've scoured the internet and we found three tools that we liked and said, let's talk about these, because we've used at least one of these tools on a regular basis. One of these tools is brand new to me, and another one is a version thereof. So let's talk about them. Well, before we talk about them, let's talk about the mission critical tasks, because I think that we often confuse ourselves with what's important and what's not important. And I want to talk about mission critical tasks. What are the mission critical tasks that you need to be doing?
Yeah, well, and I think we're going to touch on this again, but when we're talking about mission critical, we really are talking about your DNA, what's your mission, what's your vision, and you always need to keep those up and in front of you. The mission critical tasks are those tasks that are going to keep you moving to your end goal, your now end goal, because end goals are always going to be
in terms of vision.
We never arrive.
In terms of vision.
In vision, right. We never arrive. But it's keeping that there, and we really have to ask that question, does this take me to my goal or not? Laser focused on that. And I have to just, segue again to having a coach and the importance of that, because coaches will ask you those questions. And with my clients, I say, don't make any changes. Don't start anything new than what we've been talking about, because what I have found, I think every single time, I'm trying to go through my brain here real quick. I can't think of a time that someone has changed changed something, done something completely new. We're really bad at it when we read a new blog, or we watch a new YouTube video, or a new book, or we go to a workshop or something. All of a sudden, that sounds really good, but it has nothing to do. We think it's got something to do with where we're going, but it has a whole lot of other ramifications and can take us way off task. That's why good coaches won't say no. We never say no, but we can say, whoa, I don't think that's going to get you where you're trying to go. Or
asking the question, will this get you where you want to go?
Right, exactly.
I had a client that every time, and they were proud, they read a new book every week.
Yeah.
And every week, his staff went berserk, because every week he had a new idea to try. And when I was finally hired as a coach, it was like, I want to tell him, stop reading books, because it isn't helping you. This is getting in the way. But we began saying, how does this book achieve the mission, as opposed to, well, try this, try this, try this.
Right.
How does it? So mission critical are those tasks that actually, if you don't do them, your mission will not be achieved. So, pastor, if you're not networking in the community, that's a mission critical task.
Right.
You're the church growth catalyst that grows the church. You get it out there. Preaching a sermon that is relevant to your target audience, that's a mission critical task. I hesitate to say this, I really don't, but I'm going to say I hesitate to say this. Pastoral care, not a mission critical task. Don't get me wrong, the flock needs to be cared for, but it's not a mission critical task because that can be done by anyone and should be getting done by everyone.
Well, okay.
Members care for members.
Right. So now this is bringing back home to me, and I want us to be explicit about this, and that is that we are talking about you, pastor, or
right.
you, leader of a particular ministry. Maybe you're an associate pastor, and you have your responsibilities, or the leader, you're listening, and you're the leader, the director, the chair of a particular team or committee or ministry, and this is for you as what is your mission? What is it that
right.
your team, committee, whatever, is doing and responsible for? And that then dictates what you are doing.
Well, I mean, and I love what you did. Thank you for opening that door. The reality is if you are the pastoral care deliverer,
yes,
the caregiver,
good.
then pastoral care is your mission.
Right.
And that's your mission. But the lead pastor, not their mission. The lead pastor is to make sure the mission of the church is achieved and is focused on those mission critical tasks.
Well, I can see us running out of time already.
Let's jump into this.
Can you tell we're a little bit passionate? We love this ourselves. And we know this stuff. Let me tell you, we know this stuff because we've done it. Right? I mean, I'm just thinking about our church plant, and wow, we had a good coach, and Lord knows we needed one. Okay, so our first tool is one that is we're going to credit to Brian Tracy, and
there's a good reason for that because he actually is the one who came up with it, or at least put it in print.
Okay, it's the ABCDE approach.
I might call it the alphabet approach.
Oh. Well, I could get to Z though. I don't think
that's
I
true.
would do that, right?
But it's A to E.
Okay.
A to E. Okay,
so
right.
what he says is there are here five critical tasks.
Well,
five tasks.
5 different buckets of tasks. 5 different segments, whatever.
Okay, and the first are the most critical tasks that require immediate attention.
Those are the A tasks.
A tasks, right. Oh, yeah, not number one, letter A. And that if you don't complete these, it could result in significant consequences.
Which is to say that if you don't do your A tasks, your church isn't going to ever reach its vision and the mission is not being accomplished. These are the true mission critical tasks that should be on your plate and in front of you every single week.
And on your calendar. They've got to be on calendar and on repeat even in your calendar.
Yeah, we had to talk about that on another on how to use your calendar to achieve your mission. That's a great conversation.
Of course. So these are going to be items such as visiting a leader or leaders in your community. They are going to be meeting with your staff, which volunteer or paid staff, every single week to check in on how things are going in their ministries or committees or teams.
It's touching base with your first-time visitors who came, or returning visitors or new members to help them get plugged in. These are the kinds of A tasks that take priority over virtually everything else.
And they're urgent. Because B tasks aren't as urgent. They too are important, but they're not as urgent. And these are the tasks that you should do.
And you should do.
You should do, right. But they may not be as critical.
Right. You can put them off to tomorrow. My grandfather was the master of procrastination. He really wasn't, but he played that game. And he said, never do today what you can put off to tomorrow. And I can remember that saying. I remember hearing him saying it over and over, and I thought, well, that's really but no, that's not true. There are things you can put off to tomorrow that probably ought to be put off to tomorrow. If you have a choice between meeting someone who is new to the faith or has never been in the faith, and you have to weigh that up against maybe seeing a leader in the church, which one is the more mission critical? Generally speaking, you have to weigh that up, but generally speaking, it's one of the first two, not the other. But there are times when that one's more important, but you have to weigh that up. Which one? Because heaven knows we can't do all the A tasks all the time. Sometimes there are more A tasks than we can get done.
But, I'm thinking as you say that, you could multitask in as much as you invite that leader to come with you to make the other visit, right?
If that's appropriate.
Right, if it's appropriate,
Right.
But if you've got a new Christian who wants to have some conversation, because then you're discipling, which is important,
Right.
and again, you're meeting with them. Okay.
Again, if
so
it's
much for
possible. All right, yeah.
multitasking. Do
Right.
you have an example of an urgent task that's not mission critical? No, it is, but not as consequential as an A task, a B task.
Okay, you want a B task example?
Yeah.
All right. The reality is, folks, unless it's Saturday night, your sermon is a B task. The sermon could be if you've waited until Saturday, it becomes an A task. But generally, and depends on your
what that is.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, my sermon day was I wrote on Monday and it had to be finished by Tuesday because it had to be the tech team, so that they could do tech and art, so they could do what they needed to do. So, on Monday, it was kind of a B task in the morning. In the afternoon, it moved into the A, and on Tuesday morning, it was the A task. It had to get done. So, there's an example.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very helpful. Okay, so C tasks are those that it would be nice to complete, but they're neither urgent nor important.
Cleaning out your email list. Actually, that's a lousy. That ought to be a D or an E task, but be that as it may.
Well, for some of us, it needs to be a C task. Otherwise, it will drive us absolutely
That's
nuts.
right. Yeah, so for some of you, some people, they put it in the A bucket because it's driving them nuts, and that needs to go to C because it really isn't.
Yeah.
It's not. It may be important, but not really.
Okay, so then
All right.
D. D is for
Delegate.
There it is. I love it. D is for delegate. These are the tasks that you need to delegate and can be done by somebody else. I know a pastor who appears to be, I would put money on it if I were a betting person, appears to be responsible for his own calendar. And that is just proving to be a real mess
Nightmare.
for him.
Yeah.
It really is. But that's important. He sees that as I think he sees it as a B task, maybe a C task, but it's a D task. A B. I really agree with that.
Yeah.
He needs to delegate it.
And
he's a friend, so I'm
Right.
not talking about clients here. Okay,
Right.
This is a friend.
Right.
Okay.
And E tasks are those that are that you can eliminate. You don't have to do them. No significant consequences. Why are you even considering doing them?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so move on. There's 3 dandelions out in the churchyard. Oh, for some people it drives them nuts, but it's probably an E task. Don't worry about it. Whatever. Okay.
Sure.
So A, B, C, D, E. It's essentially just 4 buckets. How important is it? If it's critical, if it's an A, get her done today. If it's B, get her done tomorrow. It's a C, maybe, maybe not. If it's a D, give it to somebody else. And there are some, by the way, there's some A tasks that can also be D tasks.
Exactly.
Okay?
Right.
There's some tasks that maybe aren't critical for you. It's a mission critical task, but someone else needs to do it.
Right.
A connections pastor is an example. Someone who's in charge of making connections, and you've learned of someone who's come in, a new person, you get the visitor contact card. Right. That's a good, hand that off to your connection person. That's a D task. All right. So A, B, C, D, E, a great model for those of you who need another model. Okay. So, another priority making. And sadly, there's a lot of pastors have no priority determining tools. So if you don't, let us recommend that one to you.
Okay.
There's a second one I want to talk about.
And that may work. I have to say, just to make commentary on this, this one would be semi-overwhelming for me because
it's just got too much.
Because I would obsess on it. Yeah.
Is this an A task, a B task, a D task, an A task,
something
whatever?
like this has helped me about what can I delegate and what do I need to eliminate. I have my own little tools with that. But I can do that. Anyways, I could just see me doing all my to-dos in these things. Right. Okay.
Yep.
My obsessive brain. So
what's
our second tool?
We're actually going to get there in a little bit, talk about that very problem. Okay.
Exactly.
So the second one I want to talk about is the Eisenhower matrix. And the Eisenhower matrix is pretty common. You probably know it. You may have heard of it. Maybe not called it that way, by that. But it's that matrix. And here's an image of it right there.
A quadrant matrix.
Yeah, it's right there on the screen. You don't have to do that.
Awesome.
All right. So it's a quadrant. And there's the important, in one quadrant, and the not important in another quadrant. An urgent, which is underneath the important, or the important, depends on who drew it, and the not urgent. So you have 4 quadrants: important, not important, urgent, not urgent. And what you do is you take your tasks, your task list, and say, is this important? Yes, it's important. Is it urgent? Well, not really. So you move. It's kind of a continuum on that matrix. Where does it go? So if each morning you go through your tasks and say, where does this fall? And of course, the not important, not urgent are Brian Trace's e-tasks. Why are they on your calendar at all? And of course, the ones in the top left are urgent and important. Just like those are A tasks, get her done. But here's the key here is that the Eisenhower matrix is a little easier to use, but it doesn't have the level of detail that you find with Brian Tracy, who says, is this a mission critical task? And I really kind of like that system, even though it can be overwhelming, but it helps you to think through, is this mission critical? The Eisenhower's matrix, you can and should make it that way, but it's not necessarily, you don't have to use it that way, which is a problem, because if you're not using it that way, you'll put up there important and urgent to go see the board chair who's been whining about the way the music is, and it's like that is neither urgent nor important.
Yeah, well, let me say, since I learned this technique years and years ago, I've tried it at different times. It doesn't work for me. Because it doesn't have enough detail. It just is taking that to-do list and kind of tossing them out there willy-nilly. And I've done it for the week, but what do you do then with the new ones and blah 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 blah. So it doesn't work for me.
Let's add a 4th one. So we have 4 tools, okay?
Oh, good. Okay.
And that's the one that I've seen you use. And you were going to talk about one of your pastor friends who uses a Post-it note system.
Yeah.
And we've done that when we did church planting. We were very intentional about using Post-it notes. I have given that up. I like electronic stuff. But you still use Post-it notes, and you have different colored Post-it notes. Why don't you share your system and your friend's system, or whatever, or combination thereof?
Sure.
The Post-it note system.
I love Post-it notes, and I used to be given them for Pastor Appreciation Week. And hey, if you're not a pastor, or you are, and you are serving with another pastor, but especially if you are a layperson, it is Pastor Appreciation Month this October, so please don't lose the opportunity to greet them. Okay, that little commercial being said, or greet them, do something nice for them. That being said, when I was pastoring, when I was a denominational pastor, I was overwhelmed with all the work. And I was doing, I'm using Franklin Covey, Daytimer, Eisenhower. I was trying all these different pieces, modules. And what I discovered was I could just start putting Post-it notes. So I would write down whatever my to-do was and put it on the Post-it note. Because in using a daily calendar, if you don't do the tasks there, you have to rewrite the ridiculous tasks. So I stuck them on there. And so
then you could move them.
I could move them to another day. And actually, at that time, I was also and primarily using a big monthly calendar or monthly calendar. So I was just sticking them on my monthly calendar. So I went to colored Post-it notes, 3, green, yellow, and the pink ones. And it got to where
they don't make red that you can write on that you can still see through.
Right, exactly. And I like the neon myself.
Right,
yeah, I like the bright colors. Green tasks were those that were going to make a difference for a church, a difference for a pastor that was working it, right? That was really trying.
It's a mission critical.
It was mission critical, right?
Right.
Yellow was maybe it is and maybe it isn't.
A B task.
Or
B or C task.
It was more a B task.
Okay.
And red tasks were administrative, I have to do this, but it is not really, I can make an excuse for how it could be mission critical, but not going to be. So it was a to-do I had to do.
It had to do, but was not necessarily urgent.
Well, some of them were urgent.
Okay.
Red, some of them were urgent. But then this is how I started really fooling with them, was I started looking at life-giving. Was this life-giving? Was this life-giving like to me? Was it life-giving to a church? Was it going to be life-giving for a pastor? If it was, that got a green. mission critical. And as a denominational minister, my responsibility was in supporting ministers, so that was green. Again, if it might or it might not, then that got a yellow. And if no, then it got a red. And my whole goal was to get fewer red, because at first, most of my Post-its were red. And my rule then was to get rid of those reds, and knowing I'd have to have a few. And that happened. It took me about 6 months, maybe a year, to finally get it to where I was able to do more and more green and less yellow. And I have to tell you, here on this side, probably now about 15 years later, I can tell you it was the best and most enduring difference for me in scheduling. And to this day, it's different, because my rule is very different today. The colors don't always match. I really have been doing like red, or I've got to get this done now, green, whatever. But I use colored pens, and my colored pens represent different aspects. Okay, that's one.
All that's to say that you can design your own Post-it note system based on the colors, colored pens as well, and you can begin to create your own ABCDE list, or your matrix list, or based on your calendar. But it's a lovely portable. You can move tasks easily. Harder to change priorities because you have to rewrite them, but whatever.
Right. So this is another tool. I'll try and make it really fast. One of my friends uses, again, Post-it notes. She puts them on the back of her door. And so she has if we're going to use ABC, she has those that would be A lists, those that would be B tasks, and those that are C tasks. So that she's able to look at those A tasks and just take them off as she has time to do them. I'm not sure if we've talked about the possibility of putting how much time she thinks it might take, so she's got an hour, she can grab one of those. But then she's able to work through that, and I wish I could tell you, I think it may be Brene Brown, but there's somebody who's written that when you make a list of what your to-dos are, things that you need to do, you'll notice that tasks move farther and farther to the bottom. And so she recommends that every now and again, you really need to, if you've got spare time, take something off the bottom of the list. Because otherwise, every time you look at your list, you get a little bit stressed, some anxiety there, because that bottom one just doesn't go away. So that would be, one of those columns. This is this has been on here forever, but I can get it done. I've got a few minutes.
All right. So
that's good for those of us that are very structured.
Right. And well, actually, that plays in nicely to this last one, which was the third, and now it's the fourth or the fifth. I don't know. It's one of those. It's the last one we're going to talk about. And that is computer science for priorities. Brian Christian did a TED Talk, you can find it on YouTube, and talked about the science of setting priorities. And he has a couple of wonderful stories and metaphors. We won't go through all of them, but there's three essential tools that he talks about. And the first one is, it is a tool, and that is, we need to avoid decision paralysis. And he talks about the science of a satellite, I think Voyager, and that it went dark for some time because it had so much information coming at it that it couldn't sort what the priority was of the task. And so it had no parameters for, what do I do? What do I do? And it literally froze up. And, we have decision freezing that happens, decision paralysis, where you go in, you get all these decisions, which cereal should I buy? There's 14 Raisin brands, let alone whatever, so I end up buying Captain Crunch instead because there's only one of those. So, the key here is avoid decision paralysis. The way you do that is by getting your DNA, your vision, your mission, your values written down and actually printed out and put in front of you, so that when you are doing your priority list, you can pay attention to what's important right now, so that you can, important based on your decision making tools, the DNA of the church. So number one. Second tool he talks about is he talked about bucket-like tasks. Put like tasks into buckets. This came about when Linux was being developed, and Linux would get overwhelmed again with the tasks, and it would try to do all these things just in order. It had no real set priorities, and so they began to work on how do you set priorities in the computer language, and they created what were called buckets. And so the like tasks went into this bucket, and like tasks went into this bucket, and like, so it's really kind of Brian Tracy's A, B, C, D, E, except for that there were fewer buckets. But there were 3 buckets. These are like tasks, and these are like tasks. And so in your world, Pastor, it's the like tasks of mission critical, the not so mission critical, and then why are we even considering these kind of things? And you put those into buckets, and then you sort them there. Too often we get busy trying to sort everything, and we have all these tasks to sort, and it can be overwhelming. What do we do first? We do say, well, if you create a bucket and say, well, this is a mission critical task, and this is a sort of a task, and then you can take this bucket and sort it much easier without being overwhelmed. And you can say, this is what has to go on.
So now I have this vision. You should go down to the No More Dollar store, also known as the $1.25 store, where you can buy little buckets. You can get these little buckets, and you can put your little to-dos on pieces of paper and drop them in their respective buckets.
There you go. Okay, so or Post-it notes. All right, the last one.
They'd stick together.
The last one is the Embrace Randomness tool, and that is when you have your things bucketed out. When you have some time, it's very much like your friend. When you have some time, reach in and randomly choose a B or C task, and just say, I'm going to do this one, and get her done. And here's the reason for that, is it creates a burst of creativity, because your mind has been going here, 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 and now it's got to go over here. And that just bursts the creativity, and you're able typically to get the task done much more quickly. And obviously you have some problems with this.
I do. I get anxious. That's oh my gosh, just thinking about that. I get, if I had it up there in the Post-it, and especially if I had it, you see, here I am, or I am, blah, blah, blah. So very, I have that too, yeah. So, yeah, but I could see me doing something like, okay, that would take me about 5 minutes. That'll take me, I've got 15 minutes. Let me just grab one of you, right? Something like that. But just to pick it out, not knowing how much time it's going to take me or anything else, I need more structure than that.
Yeah. And
I was thinking I was stressed out. So yeah.
So I think Brian Christian would say that reach into any particular bucket and say, so it's early in the morning. I need to do a mission critical task to see this. Let's do this one.
That just is like no.
And see, and I would thrive on that because I get so much done, which is kind of how I do it.
Right.
All right. Speaking of being done, we are like out of time.
Done.
Yeah, we're done. I hope that one of these 5, 19, however many tools we ended up sharing with you.
Hey, and we've got more if you want.
That's right. We are.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week. Have fun with it. Bye-bye.